Adi, you broke Steve Jobs' record at Apple. How did you do that?
I grew up with parents who were entrepreneurs. So I grew up learning like how business is run. And then I got to business school and I didn't realize that this was like a Steve Jobs record. I thought it was just like
Oh,
like everyone does this. Like there's probably like, I don't know, like 30% of the population that runs an
yeah.
Apple sale achieves this. And then people kept saying, oh, that's the girl that broke Steve Jobs' record. And I was like, oh, who? I started attending board meetings with my father when I was 8.
So, did you ever feel like you were too young, too bold, or too different to be taken seriously?
I constantly now make a joke of it. Honestly, I think it's not fair because I didn't party in college. I got a degree in medicinal and biological chemistry. Well, they were watching TV every day after school in high school and going to parties on the weekends and hanging out with their friends at the mall. But they're now upset with me because they didn't make those sacrifices.
Yeah.
And that's something that they have to come to grips with. And as soon as I realize that someone's jealous like that, I try to avoid them.
Yeah.
Because the only thing they won't be happy until I'm destroyed.
Yes.
So the only thing you can do is avoid those people. They want to take you out and it's nothing to do with you, it's everything to do with them.
Adi, you broke Steve Jobs' record at Apple. How did you do that?
I grew up with parents who were entrepreneurs. So I grew up learning like how business is run. And there were certain things that we were just taught were standard that every business needed in order to start.
Yeah.
And my father started multiple businesses throughout my childhood. So I got to see this is everything that's needed in order for a business just to exist, period. And then later I found out that what he thought was like the bare minimum, other people didn't even realize there was a list of things you needed established. So then I got a degree in medicinal and biological chemistry. So when I got to Apple, I had worked on projects with Porsche, Target, Whole Foods, Disney. I had grown up in this family office seeing startups launched all the time. I had a degree in medicinal and biological chemistry to understand marketing from a scientific side. So when I went to Apple, there were certain things that were missing that to me, they were obvious because of my unique background, but to others, they were not. So I thought, sure, they had the employees on salary, but they didn't have like any unique bonus for them if they sold more of a certain product one week or another. So we did that. We added that. And instead of it being a financial bonus, I found out what mattered to them personally. So one of them, they wanted bragging rights. So one of them wanted to be able to brag that I brought a bunch of models to him playing as a DJ at a club on the weekend. So when he sold the most products, that's what we did. I brought a bunch of, because I was modeling in Europe as well. So I brought a bunch of the girls that I modeled with. We all showed up and the music was terrible, but he was so excited. We stayed for like 2 songs. And for months afterwards, he kept bragging about that. Oh, well, I had all of the international models come to hear me play.
Yeah.
Like, so that was one thing we added. Another thing, I would communicate when we were low in stock on certain products. So before I did that, people would show up and we were out of stock on a lot of products and they would get upset because the supply chain is not the same on the military bases in Europe as it is in the US. So in the US, I don't think I've ever gone into an Apple store and had something out of stock. But in Europe, it's completely different. So what I started doing is I would tell people we only have 3 iPads left or 3 of the iPad generation 2 or 3 or whatever it was at the time. And so then that way people knew like, okay, well, she did warn us with the Twitter account that there were only 3 left in stock. So then people would like subscribe, like to get notifications when we were low in stock on things. So that helped the customers to be happier because they knew like when something was low in stock and when we got new stock in. And then the other thing I did is I set up promotions around their pay schedule and then if they were like a sports fan, I would set it up to show them how the Apple mini computer could be used in Europe to get the ESPN football game over here or the basketball game or like whatever they wanted to watch that they couldn't get on like cable in Italy, they were able to use the Apple mini to do that.
That's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd see a surge in Apple mini sales when there were like certain sporting events. And then afterwards they had a computer attached to their TV. But like the thing that got them excited is like, oh, I want all my friends to be able to come over to watch whatever sport event competition on the TV. I don't watch sports, whatever sporting thing on the TV. Yeah. So it's just kind of figuring out what frustrated them, removing the frustrations, giving them the information so that they had control over their own buying schedule, and then showing them the possibilities of the product. Another thing I did is I took a really slow PC and I put it next to one of the MacBook Pros,
Mm-hmm.
and I would tell them, okay, we're going to restart these computers at the same time. And I would
Okay.
restart the PC and they would restart the MacBook. And
Mm-hmm.
then while we're waiting for the PC to restart, I would say, okay, open this app and click this and open.
Yeah.
And by the time the PC had finished restarting, they had opened like 6 or 7 apps
Yeah,
and
yeah.
done a bunch of different things. And I was like, do you look at how much time you lost waiting for the PC to restart? Do you
Yeah.
have that much time to lose every time you restart your computer? And they're like, oh my God, no. Like, so yeah, there's little things like that.
This is really smart. It's just that demonstrating and letting people see what points are, the kind of system that they are using, and just letting them use the different thing that actually performs better rather than we show something to them.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
the other funny thing was I didn't realize like how much sales had skyrocketed until one of the people from like the admin, one of the execs of that the military base, like all of their sales, he came and he told me, he's like, "Do you realize that you doubled sales in a year?" And I was like, "I did not know
Wow.
that."
Hmm.
And he's like, "Is it true that you're applying to business school?" And I was like, "Yes." He's like, "That should really go on your resume. Go over to this person, I'll print off the report for you." And then I got to business school and I didn't realize that this was like a Steve Jobs record. I thought it was just like oh,
Oh,
like everyone does this. Like there's probably like, I don't know, like 30% of the population that runs in
yeah.
Apple sales achieves this. And then people kept saying, "Oh, that's the girl that broke Steve Jobs' record." And I was like, "Oh, who?" And they were like, "Didn't you double Apple sales in a year without touching the marketing budget?" On like, I was like, "Yeah, why?" And they were like, did you know that was Steve Jobs' record?" And I was like, no, I did not."
How did you feel after that? Like, of course, it's a something like something. It's a kind of achievement. Obviously, it's a big achievement that breaking his record in his company is something really remarkable. Like, how did you feel after that?
Well, so I still didn't really understand like the implications of that and the value and the weight of that. And someone got us this very competitive fellowship by telling the professor who gave out these fellowship seats that
Mm-hmm.
I would only take one of the fellowship seats if he sat with me. And then he came to me and he said, "I got us a fellowship." And I was like, "What fellowship?" And he's like, "Trust me, you're going to want this on your resume." And it's
Yeah.
like, "Okay." And then he's like, "I will do all the work, but he will only give me the fellowship if you come with me." And I was like, "Okay, like sounds good. Yeah, this seems easy." So I went and I ended up like splitting half the work and then taking over quite a bit of it. But it was funny, like I didn't realize that that had opened such a key and big door until till
Yeah.
much later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
I
is
think
lovely.
well, yeah, it's one of those things where like oftentimes you put your head down and you focus on doing great work and trying to be a good steward of the responsibilities that you have. And then you kind of look up and people realize that you're equipped for things that you didn't even notice.
Mm,
And you
yeah.
kind of just follow them and go to the next level.
Yeah. And this is when the best things come out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There have been multiple times where someone much smarter than me who has a different view of the chessboard has come in and said, "You are playing way below your level. You should be here." And I just kind of like blindly follow them to the next level. And I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is really cool." Yeah.
So, what was the smartest move you made in this process, and what was the biggest mistake that you avoided? If you would like to be a bit specific
With the Steve Jobs or with all of my companies in general?
with this record, what was the smartest thing that smartest move that you made in this process?
I think the biggest thing that I did was listen to the people that are buying. Listen to them first, figure out what they're frustrated by,
Yeah.
listen to the people that are selling, figure out what excites them. So you have to take information in first before you can put out a plan. And a lot of young marketers, they come in and they're like, "Ah, step aside. I know exactly what to do," but they haven't taken any data in. And
Yes.
you have to listen first before you speak and act, right? So I think that was the biggest thing is studying and taking the data, understanding who I would be speaking to so I know how to speak to them in a way that they wanted to be spoken to.
Yeah, yeah. And what is the biggest mistake that you avoided that most people would not?
Oh, a lot of people think salespeople are getting a salary. Why do I need to give them something else? And I think there's not enough gratitude for the closers, because you don't realize how many people in those final 30 seconds will walk away from a purchasing decision. So you really like incentivizing those closers to close the deal was, I think that's something that a lot of people make that mistake. I was just talking with one of my advisors last night, actually. We have some issues right now with one of our real estate projects. Every time we get this certain person on the phone, they tank. We get an investor excited and they tank it. I'm like, so we have to come up with a new way to have them be able to communicate the information without having access to the investors, because where it should be closed by the end of the phone call and the deal should be done, they say things that like upset or offend or get the investors pulling back.
Yeah, delay the process.
Yeah, well, not delay the process. Like the investor just walks away.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I'll have the investor say to me later, like, do you want to work with a different fund? And I'm like, that is the worst thing you could
Mhm.
possibly hear ever, is
Yeah.
when the investors come in and try to take you to a different fund.
Mhm.
Like, then it really went bad.
Yeah, I love that. You were the youngest marketer managing an entire Apple channel at that time. I'm curious, how did you even get there?
When I was in college, there was an opportunity to be an intern for a guerrilla marketing company. I went over and I started working with her, and I saved her from intellectual property theft.
Mm-hmm.
And then I explained to her how she should be optimizing certain processes, how her production schedule should be changed, how she recruits and selects human capital could be optimized. And I started explaining all these things to her that I learned from growing up in our family offices, so our family businesses. And she was like, "You're not an intern. You're more like executive level for a startup." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay." And then after I saved her from intellectual property theft and helped her to increase like her operational efficiencies so that she was able to do more promotional productions, she pulled me in to work with her on projects for Porsche, Target, Whole Foods, Disney, Coca-Cola, Mars Candy, Aquafina, like all of these big American
Mm.
brands. And some of them are international, some of them are just in the US. And I worked with all these big brands with her, and they had specific criteria. Well, this was my first non-family business like that
Mm-hmm.
I was working in. So I thought that like the gold standard of Porsche, I thought that was like the standard of every company.
Yeah.
And so I got to learn from the best of the best what their business protocols were. And then when I came to Apple, they were like, "Oh, you've worked with all these other big companies already." So I had the track record. And whereas the other people who were applying had never worked with a large company before, they'd never worked with a large luxury company
Mm.
before. So that was apparently one of the deciding factors. They saw that I was young, but I had achieved a lot already.
Yeah. So how old were you then?
23, 24.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very young. I was very, but
Yeah.
keep in mind, I started attending board meetings with my father when I was 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, granted, I'd only go to one like every once in a while. I'd go to a board meeting. I'd walk in. He was having a conference. I'd sit there for his meetings. I'd sit there and I'd hear him on calls. I'd sit there and hear my mother closing real estate deals. And so you don't realize how much you pick up as a child
Yeah.
sitting there in your parents' offices doing your math homework at their office desk, like
Right.
while their assistants are running around and 25 employees are running up and down stairs. But like you don't realize how much you pick up until you go to another company and you're like, "Well, it's supposed to run like this, and this." And they're like, "What did you do beforehand?" And you're like, "Well,
Yeah.
it's just I just did chores in my parents' office, and chores happen to be what like back office admin."
Yeah.
Like
It's
as much as I
interesting.
was,
Yeah. You're in that environment where you're absorbing so much as a child, and which is the best age to learn, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So did you ever feel like you were too young, too bold, or too different to be taken seriously?
Um, I constantly now make a joke of it. You have to learn to use that to your advantage because it can either be a strength or a weakness. But I definitely have had multiple occasions where I was very frustrated because people would be like, "What would you possibly know about a company that runs like this?"
Mm-hmm.
And they had literally been an executive in a company for a year and they were in their 50s or 60s, or they had never worked for anyone and just like done Udemy tiny projects on the side, and they didn't have the same track record as I did, but and they were upset that I had all this knowledge from my experience
Yeah.
and they didn't have knowledge because they didn't have that experience. I have had times where it's definitely been a little bit crazy where I've had people that have like obsessively tried to software company from me, destroy my reputation. I've been poisoned twice this year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say being young and having achieved what I have achieved, people see the good side of it. They don't see the crazy side of it. They don't realize how cutthroat people in their 50s and 60s who regret not being more disciplined when they were young
Yeah.
are, and how much rather than there are two types of adults, right? There are two types of people in their 60s. There are those who see young talent, that's top talent, that's a high performer, and they say, I want you on my team because we're going to go so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other people that see you and they say, I want to crush and destroy you because it's not fair that you made all these sacrifices and achieved all these things. But honestly, I think it's not fair because I didn't party in college. I got a degree in medicinal and biological chemistry. While they were watching TV every day after school in high school and going to parties on the weekends and hanging out with their friends at the mall, I was working in my parents' businesses. So, as much as they want to say it's not fair that I have these opportunities, I mean, they didn't make the same sacrifices.
Yeah. Yeah. They
And
see you
now they're
as a
upset.
threat.
Yeah, but they're now upset with me because they didn't make those sacrifices,
Yeah.
and that's something that they have to come to grips with. And as soon as I realize that someone's jealous like that, I try to avoid them
Yeah.
because the only thing they won't be happy until I'm destroyed.
Yes.
So the only thing you can do is avoid those people. They want to take you out, and it's nothing to do with you; it's everything to do with them. I was on a panel for an international real estate conference about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was also on a panel in Singapore for an international family office event this past weekend. But the one a couple weeks ago, they asked me a question, and the guy was kind of condescending with it, not realizing who I was. And I was like, yeah, well, I understand that because I'm a young blonde female, people think that I'll buy anything. And
Oh,
I don't know how to do like due diligence on a
yeah.
business and a deal. And the audience just like started laughing. And it was like, but if you look at boom, 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 and then I listed off like all of the factors
Yeah.
that I look at when analyzing a deal. So like you have to name the demon. Like, okay, yes, because I'm a young blonde female, you are going to underestimate this, this, this. But I've learned to make it a strength because there's no way I can make it. There's no way that I can get rid of who I am and change that.
Yeah, absolutely. Adi, you have helped grow a bootstrapped startup to $108 million dollars with zero paid ads. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, the company actually has now done more than 700 million in sales.
Wow.
Yeah. So that one, what we did is I have something called the proven path to profit, the playbook
Mm-hmm.
on Molo 9. It's the go-to-market strategy that I use. That it doesn't just build off of what I learned from my father. It also builds off of what I learned from getting a degree in medicinal biological chemistry. And then it builds off of what I learned working on the guerrilla marketing projects for Porsche, Target, Whole Foods, Disney, all of them. And then it builds off what I learned from Apple and from business school. So it's literally the ultimate. And there are a lot of marketers who they'll achieve one thing for one company,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go and they write a bunch of books
Yeah.
about how they achieved that one thing. But with the proven path to profit, we've used it with hundreds, if not thousands, of companies around the world across 27 different industries. And it's worked almost every time. Like the only people who have told me it didn't work, I'm like, did you get to day 3 yet of the
Yeah.
21-day
Yeah.
checklist?
Yeah.
They're like, no. Like it doesn't work if you don't do,
Yeah.
like you
If you
can't
don't
put a
work.
book on your shelf and say, oh, the book didn't work. I'm like, did you open the book? No.
Yeah.
Okay. That contains everything that I do. When you see a startup that grew really fast, that's it. It's that playbook.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So does that work for IT companies as well, or is it for a specific business model?
No, it works with 27 different industries, and I think it's either 6 or 9 different business models.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So how can people get that playbook?
So if they go to molo9.com, MOLO 9, the number 9.com, it'll come up. It's the proven path to profit.
Okay. Okay.
I can also give you the link to share in the show notes.
Sure, I will do that. And by the way, I was also reading your book called Marketing Titans, and I was actually learning a lot from that book. It's an amazing book, and the way you explain everything with the kind of projects, and go to a certain link and open that project and learn from there, and then some exercises to do activities. They are just really amazing, and I'm also going to include the link of the book, so that people can just learn a lot from that. It's such a big masterclass.
Yes. So the difference between the textbook that you got and the proven path to profit is the proven path to profit is for people who are busy and they want to build a company, launch it, and have it be profitable in 21 days.
Yeah.
The book that you have The thing I love about that is it's like a reference manual. Like everything that you want to know that I do for social media ranking algorithms, I think it's in chapter 5.
Okay.
Every copywriting formula that you want to know that I use, it's in another chapter. So when you're like, oh, I have to get this to perform better, you can just pull open the book and then see which projects there are to like
Mhm.
pick from.
Okay.
But that book, you do have to, it's 457 pages. So it takes a bit of time to get
Yeah.
through. I think it takes, for me to complete every single project in that book for a company, it takes several months.
Okay.
And that's working with a few employees,
Mm.
like a few graphic designers, a few computer programmers. So that's a book on how to build like an entire marketing department. Like you could build and lead a marketing department with that book, or you can just use it as a reference manual and you go like into this chapter and do this project or that project.
Adi, what you are teaching in marketing that others are not teaching?
Marketing is math. It's and emotions are math. And people don't want to think that. They want to
Mhm.
think that emotions are like this spiritual thing that comes from another universe or something.
Yeah.
But I want you to think about somebody that makes you very nervous and anxious for a second.
Hmm.
Notice how your frontal lobe, your scalp changes, the hair goes up, your body tightens, your blood flows to your joints because you're getting ready for fight or flight.
Yeah.
What you don't might not realize is your brain is releasing a chemical into your bloodstream that other people can smell
Hmm.
and they don't realize it
Yeah.
because it's not like a distinct odor like a coffee or a candle lit. It's a very subtle odor that we sense and then we feel intuitively like something is wrong
Yeah.
because that science isn't covered enough. So we say it's intuition. Now think about I want you to think about either your grandmother or your mother, like one time that they said something where they were like, I'm so proud of you, or
Hmm.
look at you, look at what you did. Do you notice a completely different chemical
Yeah.
floods your brain? And suddenly different muscles in your body are relaxing
Yeah.
and tense. Yeah. And you're like sitting into your chair because you feel safe and you release other chemicals. Now, if someone were to walk by you and they get this feeling that you're a very calming person, what they're actually doing is their nose, there's receptors in their nose that are picking up the unique scent that is being released from your bloodstream to your skin. So you're calm because you're thinking about your mother or your grandmother or someone nurturing, and they walk past you when your brain is releasing that chemical into your bloodstream. It's seeping out your skin, and they pick it up and they think, "Oh, intuitively you're a calm person." Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So that's the power. And that's a math equation, right? Grandmother plus voice plus memory playing,
Yeah.
relaxed human, calm. And when one person relaxes, other people start to relax around them. That's a math equation. That's 1 + 2 = 3. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So not enough marketers focus on the math of human emotion
Hmm.
because they like to think that like math is something cold. It's not. It's something that helps us to understand how things can reliably work.
Hmm. Yeah.
And what's the most important thing that most marketing lacks is trust.
Yeah.
What is one thing you can always trust? Math.
Hmm.
Math doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So not enough people talk about the math behind marketing.
Hmm. Yeah. Emotional.
It's math. Yeah, it's math, and they try to make it sound like it's this magical, confusing thing because they don't know the math yet.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as long as they make it this thing that they don't have to explain, then you're not going to understand that they don't know the math.
I love what you're saying. It's well, how I understand is this that there's always an energy, and people are naturally, trained and conditioned and equipped to sense that energy. Though they don't know that why they are doing what they are doing, why they are making a certain decision, but there's a lot of energy coming across for them to make that kind of decision that they are making from the other person involved.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's neurochemicals.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just neurochemicals.
This is really interesting, and I love that. I think I would love to know more about it. Perhaps I can read that from your book.
I don't get that much into like how today's energy readings are actually neurobiology. What you would want to do is do some deep dives into some neurobiology books because
Yeah.
do you remember when there used to be gods that would pray for rain and they thought that if they danced, they would get rain?
Hmm.
And then hundreds of years later, we found the scientific explanations for when rain comes and when it does not come. And now we have this thing where people are saying, oh, I read your energy, I feel your energy, I breathe your energy. Eventually, we'll find the scientific explanations for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, people are starting to study, what is it, quantum physics? And we're starting to get the scientific explanations for it. What we have to do is look for that, is look for the scientific explanation in the spiritual. Rather than right now we have the spiritual say there's no scientific explanation for this, and the scientists say like the spiritual things are made up.
Hmm.
And then there's a small group in the center that say actually everything that has happened spiritually over the past thousands of years, once we've had computing power that's able to process more and more advanced data models, we've
Yeah.
seen that it's actually scientific.
I believe that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to find those books, and
Yeah.
there's very few of them.
Yeah.
I have not written one on that topic yet because I'm just not smart enough. I've only taken you as far as I've gone.
Yeah.
I can't take you further than I've gone. But
Okay. Sure. I will definitely do some research and try to find some. What is the biggest myth about marketing that keeps business leaders stuck?
this is I think the biggest one is people will go and they'll do one thing. They'll talk to one person. If that one person doesn't buy, they're upset. And then how did you get so many people to buy whatever it is? Like, well, I didn't talk to one person and wait, and I didn't try
Mm.
to convince one person
Yeah.
to agree with me. I talked to 100 people because I'm looking for the one person who agrees that this is what they need.
Yeah.
Marketing is not about convincing somebody to buy what you have. It's about speaking with a bunch of people about what you have to find the one who really needs what you have.
Mm. Yeah.
And a lot of people go about it the wrong way. And so they try to convince several people to do things that they don't want to do. And then they're like, oh, my startup doesn't work. And
Yeah.
it's like, no, it's not that your startup doesn't work. It's that you're trying to sell horseshoes to people who don't own horses.
Mm. Yeah. It's also about chasing people.
Yeah, you shouldn't chase them.
Yeah,
You should not chase
exactly.
people.
You
People
should
don't like
not
being
chase people.
chased.
Exactly. Because if you are, I have seen it because I have also headed some marketing departments in IT companies before I came into this industry. And I was seeing that people are just, selecting a few people and just try to sell them. And even if they don't buy exactly what you're saying here,
No.
it's just that, and just keep chasing, and nothing happens out of that. Like nothing, there's no outcome.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
with business partnerships. When you're trying to get someone to partner with your company, if you're desperate and like leeching onto them, they're going to pull away like
Yeah.
freaked out simply
Yeah.
because that energy that you give off, the neurochemical that you're releasing,
Desperation energy. Yeah.
yeah, the chemicals that you release in your brain when you're desperate, they cause other people to, when they inhale that chemical, they immediately think there's scarcity and they clam up. It's a subconscious thing that's been wired into us for thousands of years when people had to compete for resources like food and water.
Yeah.
So you can't try to force someone to love your product. What you have to do is talk to a bunch of people about your product. You'll find people who love it, who are excited by it.
Yeah.
And when you do that, then the other people who had said no before, they'll be like, wow, that person loves this product. Maybe I should take another look at it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. And this is 100% true. Like, even I think that it's not my job to convince people. If they want it. My job is just to talk about what I offer in the best way. Just talk about make the best offers, talk to people about them who really need it. And then if they don't buy it, or maybe they are not ready yet, it's not your job to convince them that, okay, it's the best thing to do to buy.
Yeah.
Eddie, you have had this wild ride, Porsche, Disney, Target, Apple startups. I think that kind of success create enemies. Did anyone backstab?
Yeah, I attract crazy people and stalkers, and yeah, not everyone's going to be happy when you're successful, and not
Yes.
everyone's going to cheer you on when you're successful. My brother's never written a book. He's never built a company. He carves trees and makes these beautiful sculptures out of wood carvings. And when my book made bestseller, he's like, "Well, how many copies did you sell?"
Okay.
Not congratulations, not I'm proud
Mm.
of you. How many copies did you sell and in how many countries? So yeah, we see it in my own family. I had one of my uncles, I told in our family chat of 80, I announced when my book launched, and he was like, stop self-promotion. And then when his book launched, he would not stop talking about it. He kept having to tell everyone every time it got a new ranking in a different category. He bought a copy for every one of the siblings. And he like nonstop for days. We had to hear about his book. But when I put one post out about my book that like helps other companies, yeah, he was like, no one in the family cares about your book and no one wants to read it. And
Mm.
like several family members were like, well, that's not true. And then he like forced his book on everyone. So yeah, you definitely, when you're successful, you get a lot of enemies, you get a lot of allies. The best thing one of my godfathers said, he's received the Lifetime Achievement Award from 7 of the past presidents,
Mm-hmm.
US presidents. So this guy's achieved a lot, a lot. He was a past president of Citibank, Latin America in the 80s. So
Mm-hmm.
he's everything that you could hope to achieve, he's done it. And he stood by me and protected me through and guided me through a really bad altercation with someone who was jealous of me, trying to destroy my reputation publicly, internationally. And he was like, no, you don't have access to my goddaughter anymore. You have to go
Mm-hmm.
through me. And I said no. And every project I worked on for several months afterwards, he looked over it or the international president of another organization to like watch out for me because yeah, if you're successful, there will be people who are jealous who want to destroy you
Yeah, yeah.
simply because they think that if they destroy you, then people will go back to being okay with their mediocre performance because they
Mm.
have no other choice. So you have to just distance yourself from those people and like you can't save them. You can't change their minds. They don't want to work harder.
Mhm. Yeah.
They don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. I don't want to do the ice bath. I don't want to wake up early, go to the gym, but I do it because I have people who are holding me to a higher standard. I
Yeah.
have a godfather who he's like, send me your workout data each day. I want to know once you've worked out and eaten your first 2 meals a day and you've slept 8 hours. And that's his thing. Like, he's like, I want you to check in that you're doing that. Yeah, you have people who will hold you to different standards. And he's like, if you don't do those things and take care of your physical self, I will not help you career wise.
Mm. Yeah.
That's the standard. So you have people who are going to be in your corner and help you to be the best version of yourself. And
Yeah.
then you have people who are going to try to destroy you because you're being the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to make sure that you insulate yourself from them, that they can't get access to you. I had someone invite me to what was supposed to be an investor dinner with a bunch of people who wanted to invest in my real estate fund. And I got there and it was one person who was extremely rude and condescending and was like, I'm out of here. And she was like, why? And it was like, because that guy just wants to tear me down. He doesn't want to invest in my fund. And he will never be someone with that personality type will never be happy with anything my fund does. It'll never be good enough for him. And I will end up becoming a very low performer if he is allowed anywhere near me. Like, as soon as you spot someone who's jealous of you because of what you've achieved, you put as much distance between you and them as
Yeah.
possible. You don't
Yeah.
give them a second chance. You don't want to win them over.
It's so important to choose your own environment.
You have to surround yourself with winners. If
Yes.
someone who wants to drag you down has access to you, you don't have the right people around you because the right people around you won't tolerate that.
Mm.
I had someone try to pitch me that they should come to my event the other day. And then I think they thought it would build rapport with me. They were like, just between you and I wanted to let you know how I thought this event went. And they started to talk down the event of my mentor's oldest son. And so I said to him very quickly, I was like, I'm going to let you know right now before you finish that sentence, I'm friends with him and his father's my mentor. So choose your next words wisely. Like, I'm not going to tolerate them speaking ill of this guy behind his back. You have to surround yourself with people like that. And high performers don't tolerate it. Negative energy drags us down.
Yes, absolutely. And this is how I see at it is this that if your life is a movie and then you are going, the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the villain, the bigger the success story, right? So this is like you encounter such people, some negative people in your life who try to do some damage, and perhaps I would say that it's sometimes like if we take the opportunity, we come out as more stronger and better version of ourselves than if they were not there, then perhaps we would not put in that kind of amount of time and effort to have that kind of achievement.
I would agree with that completely. Behind every single career achievement, you should
Yeah.
ask me who was bullying me and torturing me and threatening me that made me feel like I had to throw a Hail Mary and achieve something great to get them to back off. So when I published the book, I had some people that were really trying to destroy my reputation, say that question my validity as a professional, trying to claim credit for the work I had done. And I didn't want to publish the book because I kept thinking, what are they going to say next? What are they going to try to attack next? And then I realized No matter what I do, they're going to keep spreading these rumors and they're
Yeah.
going to keep saying these horrible things. So I released the book, I published it, promoted it. It got to number two bestseller, top number one new release in 8 categories. And then people were like, oh, well, what kind of bestseller did it get? And I was like, well, we also got top new release in 8 categories.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, like maybe you could fudge being bestseller and getting one top new release in one category.
Mhm.
But you can't fudge being top new release in 8 categories.
Yeah.
So you're going to have people who are like unhappy with themselves that are always trying to pull you down. What I've realized is the greatest villains in my life led me to the greatest allies I've
Yeah.
ever had.
Yeah.
And and that really helped to shift my view of when something bad happens, because there's this narrative that if bad things happen to you, you're doing something wrong, but that's not true. Like, bad things are going to happen all the time, and it's a
Yeah.
numbers game. Like, people who are jerks and bullies and con artists, they're not looking to target you, they're looking to target whoever's an easy target. So you just have to make yourself not an easy target.
Mm.
Like, if someone says something nasty to me and I snap back within 2 seconds, they're going to think twice before they throw a punch at me again.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't say anything back, they're going to know that I'm a great victim to go after.
Mm. Yeah.
It's just a numbers game. It's just a numbers game. But every villain that's tried to destroy me has led me to my next great achievement,
Yeah.
because facing them was so horrible and it was worse than my fear of achieving the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was like, that was so painful, I never want that person to be able to have access to me again. What do I have to do that gets me to the next level so they can't even say my name in a room and have people believe that we ever interacted?
Yeah.
And that's usually what you see with high performers is
Yes.
they had
They
some
have a lot of
brutal.
haters, like lot of
They have
critics. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of them. They have a lot of them. There's a woman, she's one of the most powerful women in the nonprofit world, and she called me upset in February because she had a full-on respiratory lung infection. Her entire respiratory system was infected and inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor said, "You cannot get on a plane. You will die." She had a board of trustees meeting and they were trying to make her feel horrible for not risking her life to get on a plane. And she's one of the most powerful women in the world and she
Yeah.
has people bullying her.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. But the only thing you can do is when you see a high performer, if you admire them, tell them, because you don't realize they're getting criticized way more than they're getting complimented. And
Yeah.
a lot of people look at them and they think, wow, they must be worshiped. They must be getting complimented all the time. It's like, no, not necessarily. Actually, it's the opposite. Usually, if you're at a middle or bottom level, you're getting a lot more accolades. The higher you go, the more critics you have.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yes. Adi, if your life was a movie, what would the title be?
Oh my gosh, did that just happen? That's what the title would be. The title would be, did that really just happen? Or it'd be Call My Godfather. Because, like,
Love that.
because yeah, there's crazy stuff that happens that I know enough now today. A lot of my godfathers are getting up to the point where they're getting ready to retire soon. So
Mhm.
I'd say the past few years I've been focused on trying to learn as much as possible from them. But that's also been a great growing opportunity, because while I'm trying to learn as much as possible from them, it's forcing me to grow so much faster than I would
Yeah.
if I didn't have a stopwatch saying I only have this many years left to learn all these things.
If you could just give one game-changing marketing advice to every ambitious founder listening right now, what would that be?
You should read one psychology, one business, or one marketing book every single week for 2 years. It'll change your life, because then you'll notice the patterns. You'll notice that there's lots of simple patterns to success. If you read what one person writes, you have to keep in mind that there's things that they think are obvious that you don't. So they're not going to disclose it. It's not that they want to hide it. It's they just thought it was obvious and they wouldn't need to say it.
Yeah.
So if you read 10 books, you're reading what everyone thinks is important, and you end up getting a more clear and holistic picture.
Yeah, that's a beautiful advice. It's very specific. This is very specific. Like a lot of people talk about generic things, but then you were talking about like read 3 books in a week, psychology.
Yeah, one book a week.
yeah, business, and then definitely it's going to be like it's a very specific thing to follow. So yeah, I love that.
Okay,
Eddie, how can
it'll
people connect with you and how can they learn more from you?
The easiest way to learn more from me is by going to Molo 9. I spent it's been 6 years now,
Mhm.
pouring all of my knowledge and experience into there, into courses, into programs, into the software. So that is the best way for you to get my knowledge into your brain, into your company. My textbook is also there. That's for people who have a what I found is people who have more marketing experience are benefiting more from that than it's not a beginner's textbook. I'm sure you could agree, having like a marketing background and getting it. Like Molo 9 is for more for like beginner marketers, like learn this, do this, try this, follow this. The book is more for intermediate marketers where they're like, okay, I want to see how you did that. And then social media, LinkedIn is probably the easiest way for people to get in touch with me. I do have social media managers who filter through everything. Yeah, they can usually get through to me if they have something specific. Yeah.
All right. So we would include your information in the show notes section. People can find you there and connect with you and learn more from Molo app and read your book as well. Thank you very much for your time today. I really, really learned a lot from you today.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me. Here, guys.
Bye.